Welcome to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy, powered by the Retirement Income Store and brought to you by Agemy Financial Strategies in Guilford, Connecticut and Denver, Colorado.
Stress. Stress is a killer. Stress kills us, right? That's why stress causes heart attacks. Stress does a lot of things. It kills, it hurts, it maims us. And when it comes to people's retirement, I hate stress. Get the stress out, right? People come in and they ask, hey, when can I retire? You look at my portfolio, do an MRI on my retirement portfolio and tell me when can I retire yet? Can I retire yet? And most often when people come in, it causes me a lot of stress because I see that no, they can't retire the way that they are. They might have plenty of assets, but the way they're invested is not going to do anything but cause them a lot of stress. And stress kills. Stress, it's people run out of money, and it's stressful running out of money. It's not something that happens overnight, but it happens little by little by little. Stress kills. I'm Andrew Agemy.
And I'm Daniel Agemy, and you're listening to Financial Strategies. Today we're talking about the missing piece to the retirement equation. And Dad, it's 2023. It's hard to get used to. A lot of people want to retire. A lot of people are thinking about retirement. A lot of people are retired. They had a pretty rough 2022, and they're looking to learn. They're looking to see how they can do things better. You've helped an awful lot of people retire, and you continue to do so. It's your passion, you could say.
Right.
We'd like to dive into something that not many advisors, not many mutual fund salesmen, not many annuity salesmen talk about.
Or life insurance salesman.
Right? We want to dive into this missing piece to the retirement equation. And what is the secret sauce? What is something that's so simple, yet nobody talks about it?
Well, whenever when people are retiring, the key is to be able to understand that missing piece, the missing piece of the retirement equation, right? And, Daniel, you just mentioned, we had a new year, 2023, and I like to have a new motto for 2023, stress-free in 2023.
There
right?
You go.
How
Did you
about
just come up with that on the spot?
Stress-free in 2023. That's what I want for all retirees, to be stress-free in 2023 and beyond, right? To the future, to infinity and beyond for stress-freeness. And the thing that happens is that money, the lack of money, can cause stress. People making, in a household, $150,000, $200,000 a year for the household, and one of the partners loses their job, or maybe they're single, they lose their job. There's stress. How am I going to be able to live? Unemployment's not going to be able to carry me with that much money. They'll give me something, but they're not going to be able to carry me. How do I live? And the same thing happens when people retire. How do they live? Too many times, Daniel, people will come in, they'll say, can I retire? And I will ask a simple question: how much do you need to live on in retirement? And they give me I'm going to say a stupid answer, right? Because they say, oh, I need, $300 for my electric, and I have a car payment of $500. The house is paid off, but I have this payment. I have $2,000 or $3,000. That doesn't make sense, right? You're making $150,000 a year. How could you live on $3,000 a month, which is $36,000 a year if you're making $150,000 a year? If you can live on $36,000 a year when you're making $150,000, then why don't you live on $36,000 a year and pocket the rest, right? Most people are not doing that from that standpoint. And that would cause anybody a lot of stinking stress, right? To go from $150,000 to $36,000 a year, right? If they're single, that might be what they're getting from their Social Security at full retirement age. That would be super hard to live on. At that rate, going from 150 to 36,000, now you're in poverty level, right? And nobody wants to do that. That is stressful.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't retirement, you save up for retirement because retirement is supposed to be a good time. You don't have to go to the work. You get to spend your time on what you want to do, right? So
Right.
we get this question all the time. How much money do I need to retire? Can I retire? When can I retire? Are my accounts growing fast enough so I can retire? Right? And these
Right.
are all the wrong questions.
Hmm.
Um, Not only are they the wrong questions, but the thought process behind them is difficult because what kind of retirement do you want to have?
Right.
That changes the answer to all those questions. Do you
That's right.
want to like have a Budweiser retirement or do you want to have, a champagne retirement? Do you want to your vacation to be go shopping at Walmart, or do you want your vacation to be going out on a cruise, a Mediterranean cruise or something like that, right? Exploring, going and climbing, the Seven Peaks, something like that. Everyone has different goals. Is it
Right.
scuba diving, right? Everyone has different goals. So it's totally dependent on what kind of retirement you want to have. But there's
That's
an
right.
easy way to get to that.
That's right. That's right. And the answer to that easy way is, what is your number? Right? What is your number?
And
But
it's not
before
the
we get
number
to
people are thinking about.
exactly. You're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. We're glad this father and son team's glad to bring to you education that you can't get or won't get in other places. Why? Because we want to make sure that you are a stress-free retiree, and if you want to be stress-free and educated, and an educated retiree is a happy and stress-free retiree. Listen, we have a paper what we'd love to put in your hand today that's going to be able to help you understand how to be stress-free. And one of the things that causes people a lot of stress is spending down their principal. So this paper is called "The Dangers of Spending Down Principal During Retirement." So dangers of spending principal. You don't want to spend principal. You want to spend the interest and dividends and keep the principal. So we'd love to put this paper in your hand to help you understand that, because you don't want to jeopardize your retirement. And you can have that by calling 800-725-7616 for your free copy. 800-725-7616 for how not to spend down principal. Call now on that. You listen to Financial Strategies. Today's topic is the missing piece of the retirement equation. Well, Daniel, being stress-free is very important in my book. And in one of the things is, when we talk about what is your number, too many times people are thinking, when we say what this number, like what you said, it's not what you think it is, right? Because people think in terms of, oh, I need $1 million. My number's $1 million. My number's $2 million. My number's 3 million. My number's 500,000. Whatever the case may be, that's my number. Well, what is that? What is that? Is that, that's fact based upon fiction, or what does that number mean? It doesn't mean a thing, right? What matters is how much you can get from that money. Now, people say, well, I have $1 million, and I can take out $50,000 a year for 20 years, and that will be plenty for me to live on in retirement. Well, do you really want to run down your money at that point? I don't think that's your number. Your number is based upon what kind of retirement, like what you were saying, Daniel, is what kind of retirement do you want to have? Do you want to have a needs-based retirement, just what you need to live on? Do you want to have a wants-based retirement, to be able to have what you want to live on in retirement, what you want to do in retirement? Or are you going to have the worst of all, just whatever it is? What it is what it is, retirement, which, could be very much poverty level. And, that's what we're trying to keep you and our listening audience away from, is just the poverty level, running out of money during your lifetime.
Yeah. Um, why that's so important? Well, one thing is a lot of investment professionals, um, they use something called the 4% rule, right?
Right.
And the 4% rule is real tricky because there's so many things here, right? The four percentages, averages fool us. Okay. So the 4% rule says you could take 4% of your retirement assets and you'll be okay. First off, that's not very much. If you have $1 million, $40,000 is not very much money. So there's problem number one.
Right.
Problem number two is, what if you go 10 years with a down flat market? So down, it goes down, let's say 20%. Let's say we have a year like 2022, and then it's flat for 10 years after that. Are you, with $1 million, going to be cool taking $40,000 a year out?
Taking out a principal.
So there's a lot of assumptions built
Mhm.
into that, and assumptions are what get us in trouble, right?
Right. Exactly. So they certainly are. You know, when we're, the number, what is your number? So we recognize that your number is not the number of what your assets are worth at retirement or in retirement. All
And
right.
it's not the 4% of the
And it's
assets.
not the 4%. Okay. How much you're going to take out of principal. That's not the number we're talking about. But you'll want to hang on and stay tuned when we come back from break, because we need to take a break. But when we come back to a break, we're going to address that in a deeper sense. What is your number? How can you make sure that you're going to be able to retire? And at what point will that happen? Well, you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy, because people don't know what people don't know. And today we have a book we'd love to put in your hand that will be able to help you to understand some things about investing for retirement. And that's using strategies, common sense income strategies. Our friend Michael Eason wrote a great book on this that we use often. And until my book is out, we'll be using this. But in the meantime, this will help you, educate you on being able to understand strategies to implement to help you to have a stress-free retirement. You can have this for free by calling 800-725-7616. The next five callers, first time five callers at 800-725-7616 will get this book. Call now.
History tells us the market goes up and the market goes down. What would you do if you lost half of your retirement savings? It's time to make the shift to steady, reliable retirement income. And where do you go? The Retirement Income Store. Log on to agemy.com for your free retirement review. That's AGEMY.com. The Retirement Income Store, where retirees go for income.
Welcome back to Financial Strategies with Andrew Agemy in Connecticut and Daniel Agemy in Colorado.
AAA, one of the things in 2022 was companies were paying their employees a lot of money. And they were paying them a lot of money in stock-based compensation. Basically, what that means is, I guess it was really 2021. 2022 is when it became a problem, because these companies got to these insane valuations. And what was happening was these employees were making insane amounts of money because they were getting stock. We know somebody at Tesla who did this, right? They're getting stock, and the compensation from the stock was almost as much money as they were getting in their salary. Some people was a lot more money. Now in 2022, stock markets fell apart.
Right.
And that stock compensation, some of these tech companies are down 80%.
Right.
Nobody wants that stock for compensation anymore. And in fact, if they didn't sell the stock, which most people didn't because it kept going up and up and up, now
Yeah.
not only do they not have the income to spend, they don't have the asset any
Right.
longer. I'm Daniel Agemy.
And I'm Andrew Agemy. You're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. This father-son team bringing to you today the topic of the missing piece of the retirement equation. And we're glad to have you with us and picking up. Daniel, the one thing that we've been teasing the audience with is, what is your number, right? And we've talked about how that number is not the amount of assets you have at retirement. It's not the $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, right? That number that we're talking about is, what is your number that you need to live on in retirement? And that's a huge question. And like we also said in the last segment, there's the needs, there's the wants, and there's the what you have. And hopefully people have more than than not. But the key is getting the maximum income that you need to be able to live the rest of your life. The key is how much income, having as much income as you, having more than enough income to live and the rest of your life. Now, the number is, what is your number? Well, so many times people come to us and they say, can I retire? And the first question that I have for them is, what do you need to live on? And they tell me something like $3,000 a month. I said, that doesn't make sense if you're making 150 that you can live on three. So if I send them home with a budget sheet to figure out what they're spending, they're typically going to leave out some pertinent information. That's called a bottom-up approach. If we do a top-down approach, I like to do the top-down approach, and you can try this one at home, folks. You can do that. Look at your paycheck, and your gross income for the year. Let's just say it was $150,000, and you put $30,000 into your 401k over that period of year. So now you take that $30,000 out of that 150, and that says that you need $120,000 is what you're living on currently. And then you can take out FICA, which is another, because you're not going to be paying that in retirement. That's another 7-8% that you can take out of there as well. So now you're looking at another 10,000. So you're down to $110,000. And there might be some things that you're having money withheld into certain savings accounts, or things that you're not doing anymore. Or maybe it's parking, or maybe it's health insurance, which is a whole nother realm. But let's just take that number of $110,000. And $110,000 a year, and that's taxable. Well, now you lose some tax because maybe you're in a lower tax bracket because of that. So maybe you're now down to closer to, let's say, give or take, $100,000, and that's what you're living on today. That's the top-down approach. And so, how are you going to achieve that $100,000? And that $100,000 is the need-based $100,000, right? That's probably not what you want, because in retirement, there's things that you want to do. Right, Daniel? What kinds of things that, generally speaking, our clients like to do and want to do in retirement that they're not doing before retirement?
Traveling, people like to do some exploring. People like to fly first class, right? People's bodies aren't the same. And they're like, work too hard to go get crunched in with all these sick people in the back of the airplane. I need my own room.
Right.
People like buying stuff. They like buying extra houses, lake houses. They like buying RVs. They like buying plots of land where they can go drive around on four-wheelers. They like going side by side in, right? We see people do a lot of cool stuff. We got one client that likes to go all over the world, go diving, right? We got another client likes to fly planes.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Exactly. And all that stuff takes money, right? Retirement is like a week long of Saturdays. And typically Saturdays, you spend money on Saturdays. A lot of people do, at least they spend money, right? So if you say that, so generally speaking, you need and want more in retirement than what you're making now, because you want to do other things that cost more money. And that's a great exercise to go down and see what kinds of things might you want to do. And people who retired in the past couple years, their shall I say retirement budget and what they need is different than what it maybe is going to need to be in 2023. Why? Because the COVID years of retiring limited and restricted what you could do. So there's a lot of people that have done a whole lot of hiking and hasn't cost them a lot of money because they've done hiking, because that's a way that they could get out and they could do things without it costing them anything. So we have to look at what is your retirement look like, what you want it to look like, what you need it to look like, what you want it to look like. You're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is the missing piece of retirement, of the retirement equation. We have a paper I'd love to be able to put in your hand. It's called Dangers of Spending Down Principal During Retirement. So spending principal is a bad thing. You want to spend interest and dividends, not principal. This paper will be able to help you to be able to understand how you can have a needs-based or best of all, wants-based retirement, as opposed to running out of money during your retirement. You can have that by calling 800-725-7616, 800-725-7616 for your free copy, Dangerous Spending Down Principal During Retirement. Ask for the paper. Um, Daniel, uh, this number, right? There's a needs-based number, there's a wants-based number. Um, it and that is all what retirement is based upon. We can't do anything in helping people understand if they're ready for retirement and doing an MRI on their finances, on doing a risk retirement report, if we don't know what their number is, what they need, what they want in retirement, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to look at that, but this is something that each person needs to figure out for themselves. And don't base it on your assets. Don't base it
Right,
on your stock-based compensation, right? Don't base it on your social security. That's backwards. You need to figure out what you want, what that
right,
retirement's going to look like, what that retirement's going to taste like, what that retirement's going to feel like, the things you want to do. Um, do you want to fly first class? Do you want to fly? Do you want to
right.
buy an RV? Right? That's what you have to do first off is figure those things out because that's what a good retirement looks like. That's what the stress-free retirement looks like when you
Exactly.
know what you want to achieve. Because if you go around the other way, like most things do, and run some Monte Carlo scenarios that if this happens and this happens, then you can have this much money. That's a very stressed. That goes back to the stock compensation. Well, what happens if the stock goes down?
Yeah,
Now the retirement doesn't happen,
right,
right?
right. Just like in 2008 and 9, people had to either not retire or go back to work because things had changed for them because they planned differently.
Right. So get the number without thinking about these other things. And I like that way that you approach it, where you don't say, my utility bills cost this much, and I bought a present for Jamie last month, and right. Look at how much you're earning.
Right,
Look how much you're earning. Look at all the different things coming out. Which of those are going to continue, right?
right,
If you've done a good job of planning and you got Roth money, you get to wipe out all your taxes that you're paying. Not all your taxes, most of your taxes, your income tax,
right,
right? Look at the taxes on the house. See, that's something people probably don't think about when they're looking at I spent this much, this much, this much. There's these other kinds of things that you need to cover. And if you didn't plan for that, it gets real stressful. So look at everything that you have, how
right.
much money's coming in, how much going out,
Yeah,
what's left over in the bank account, right? That's another way that you've taught people how to figure this out is
exactly.
you look for month to month. Is your bank account balance going up or is it going down? Then you subtract out the other things that you're not going to have, the other expenses you're not going to have in retirement.
Right,
Maybe the house is paid off by then, and so you don't have the house payment.
right,
Maybe you're not saving money, you're not putting money in the 401k anymore, right? Back
right.
those things out. And that gives you a much better idea. And then once you have that number,
Mhm.
the magic starts happening, right?
Yeah,
Because
right.
it's a psychological thing, number one.
Hmm.
When you know how
Definitely.
much money you're going to need, things start happening to help you get to that number.
That's right.
You start building a plan, you start changing the way you act in your subconscious, right? The
Right.
subconscious is 95% of everything that we understand.
Hmm.
Our conscious is only seeing and feeling 5%. That's crazy to think about.
Yeah, it
So you
is.
get that 95%, the more powerful part of the brain, you get
Yeah,
that working on it when you have that number, when you have what that retirement looks like. What do you
yeah,
want it to feel like, right?
yeah. Exactly. That's beautiful, Daniel. That's, what I think all retirees deserve and need is the maximum income stream that they can get for the rest of their life. And there's not a lot of people that can help them get that maximum income stream. There's people that will say that they'll get them income, but getting that maximum income stream that they can get out of whatever it is that they have, that is so key. Listen, we've got, if you're just joined us, you listen to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is the missing piece of the retirement equation. We have a book for you we love to give to you, put in your hands, Common Sense Income Strategies, which will be able to give you some strategies, some ideas on how you can use to get the maximum income stream that you need for the rest of your life. We'd love to put this in your hand, and we're going to give this away to the next 5 callers at 800 725 7616. First time callers, 800-725-7616. Call now.
I'm David Scranton, founder of the Retirement Income Store. If you're in or near retirement, are you certain you have the right retirement plan in place? Do you want to help ensure your nest egg will last you all throughout retirement? Take our retirement review quiz and find out in 5 minutes or less if you're doing everything you can to achieve a more successful retirement.
Visit us online at agemy.com. That's AGEMY.com. Welcome back to Financial Strategies with Andrew Agemy in Connecticut and Daniel Agemy in Colorado.
Daniel, the thing I love, we do a lot of different reports. We do a summary report for our clients on their accounts when we're doing reviews with them. And one of the things I love is the client who's getting ready to retire, and we figure out that they need $10,000 a month to retire on, and their portfolio is generating $150,000 a year. Because that's a beautiful thing, because not only do they have what they want, more than what they need, they have what they want, but that's not even including like their social security or pension or that kind of thing. So that's a beautiful thing to have all the income and more than enough income that you need to live the rest of your life. I'm Andrew Agemy.
And I'm Daniel Agemy, and you're listening to Financial Strategies. Yeah, Dad, that's a pretty awesome thing. And that's something I think a lot of advisors, whether that be someone as themselves helping, a do-it-yourself, or they're planning their own retirements, or it's somebody who has, a license and they call themselves a professional. They miss that kind of stuff, because just like when you have stock-based compensation, that if things go wrong, you get hit twice, right? Because
Right.
now your job's in jeopardy and your income went down.
Right.
When you're not planning for the amount of income that you're going to need in retirement, it's just guesswork.
Mm-hmm.
And you get hit twice. If markets go down, where's the income come from? Are you selling at a loss, or are you just not having a retirement? Are you going back to work, or are you staying home eating, Cheerios?
Right. Yeah, that income is a key factor. And what I see it as is, there's two kinds of retirement plans that companies have. One is the 401k plan. It's called the defined benefit, defined contribution plan, which what's defined there, what we know is happening is how much money is going in every time. And we know how much money is in there. We don't know what's going to come out on the other side exactly, but we know what's going in. So that's what's defined, as opposed to a pension plan, which is called the defined benefit program. And defined benefit program defines what the benefit is. Doesn't really matter who cares kind of what's going in. We know that at retirement that you get maybe 60% of the 5 highest years of income. So it knows what's coming out. And that's what we're talking about here, is when we say, what is your number? The missing piece of retirement equation to be stress-free is what is your number? What do you need to live on? What is that on the other side? Doesn't matter how much money you have. And it matters how much you're able to get out without tapping into the principal. Because if you tap into principal, like you say, you're going to run out of money when the stock market is doing things. Taking from principal works great if the market is going up, and every year the market is up, and you're just taking what the market is up by. But if the market is down, like what you're saying with the profit sharing and different things, and the stock purchase and stock compensation that companies are getting, well, then that puts you in a precarious situation. You can't depend upon that. You don't know what's going to happen. And so, like you say, maybe you're eating, cat food when the market is down, and when your market's up, you're eating caviar. But might be better just to eat steak all the time. So, what is your number? The missing piece of the retirement equation is, how much income do you need to live your retirement, live your life the way that you want to once you retire? And then on top of that is, how much do you want to retire? How much income do you want to do that? What is your number? Well, everybody's number is different. And how are you going to attain that? Well, it depends how your money is set up. There's many people we come across whose money, they have enough money to win the game of life, so to speak, financially speaking. But the question is, how is it allocated? How is it allocated? And if it's allocated in a hope approach, well, you have problems. If it's allocated in something that's creating dividends and interest, well, now you got something you can depend upon. What's
Talk about
unique?
how the definition of an investment is it has to pay you. And that's where I think a lot of people get stuck is they, we talked about how powerful the subconscious is. We talked about how powerful the mind is. People get stuck because they take what they've seen for the last 10 years um, and they assume that's what will happen for the next 10 years.
Right.
So, first is they don't know how much money they need. It's just guesswork. And so they say, but markets are just amazing. Markets are just amazing. So it doesn't really matter what I need because they just go up always. And 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 this is a problem because there's different markets. What market are you talking about?
The real estate market.
Yeah, are you talking about the real estate market? Are you talking about the S&P 500? Are you talking about something else? Because different markets go up at different times, right?
Right. In different ways. Yeah.
In Japan, they had a booming market, and they had a booming real estate market. And at one point in time, the garden in the Emperor's Palace, right,
Right. The little
was worth
garden.
more than all of California. Well, was it really worth more? It had a higher price tag on it,
Right.
but when things corrected, we found out California is worth a whole lot more money.
Right.
So that's why we talk about speculation and we talk about investments. Now, if you want to speculate, that's all good. You just need to know you're speculating and you plan that magical number. You plan for that magical number so that you can have a good retirement.
Right.
Right?
Right.
That's the same thing if you go back to the stock compensation. It's no big deal if you don't need that money to live off of.
Right.
If your stock goes down or the stock compensation is not worth much. The problem is if you adjust your lifestyle so you need that, then when that goes away, that puts a lot of stress in your life.
Yeah.
That puts a lot of stress in your life. That's the same thing. If you're depending on the S&P doing the same thing it has for the last 12 years, I think you're going to have a lot of stress in your life the next 10 years because everything was perfect between the Federal Reserve printing money, between the markets being at the bottom, between technology and innovation, between demographics, between all these different things to allow that to happen. Now everything's overpriced. What are you going to do? Just hope it keeps more overpriced? Right? So that's why it's so important to plan for what you need for that number. And you as the listener, as the retiree, have to come up with that number.
Right. We're glad to help you with that. But listen, we want to educate you. And today we have, you listen to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. And today we have a paper that we'd love to give you because the topic today is the missing piece of the retirement equation. And the paper that we have today is why investing in mutual funds can jeopardize your retirement. And a lot of people are invested in 401ks or in mutual funds. A lot of people have IRAs with mutual funds. A lot of people have, and electronically traded funds are a type of mutual fund along those lines. But as we spoke about previously, that it's kind of like the wrapper. Mutual funds are like the wrapper, and the candy bar is belongs to somebody else. But anyway, we'd love to put this in your hand, help educate you. Call 800-725-7616 to help you to get this paper for free. Why investing in mutual funds can jeopardize your retirement. 800-725-7616. Daniel, we've been talking about the missing piece of the retirement equation, and the missing piece is what is your number, right? What is it that you need to live on in retirement? How much income do you need, and how are you going to get it? you've spoken a lot about, if people are investing in speculation, investing in the market, investing in mutual funds, like this paper is that we given away. It's a hope-based retirement, and hope is not a retirement program. To me, retirement should be based more like on the defined benefit program of yesteryear in pension plans, which contracts and promises and guarantees, right? And that's what we're talking about. Is that when people know what they need and want in retirement, and we're glad to help, though you and our listening audience know that. You can ask for that when you can call that the 800-725-7616. We'll be glad to walk you through that to know what you need in retirement, and that will help you be able to, and how you invest your money is dependent upon how you're going to get what you need. And if you invest in the right ways, you eliminate stress, and you invest in the wrong ways, and you could run out of money.
Right. Most people do it backwards.
Mm-hmm. You're
And
right.
they say, here's how much money you have. That means you need to earn this much so that you can have this much. And that's not the way it works.
Nope,
That's
it's
not the
not.
way it works. You have to say, I want my retirement to look like this. And then you're able to plan towards generating that much. Now, if you're able to generate, you need $150,000 a year. You're between Social Security, your pensions, whatever you have, your investment assets, you got 200,000, and you say, hey, you know what? That S&P is sure looking good to me. Then throw it in there, but it's not paying very much. You're better off buying treasuries right now. It's got a better dividend than the S&P, and that can do more things for you, right? You got to get the purpose right first before you go for the performance. And if you want performance, let's talk about real performance. Not let's talk about 6% over 20 years. That's not performance.
No.
Let's talk about real performance. Let's talk about some international stuff. Let's talk about some other stuff where you can actually make some real money, not the S&P 500, where it's just, you could get bonds, good corporate bonds that are paying better.
Right. Exactly. That's a very good point, Daniel. When you talk about that, I think of a 1990s SS Camaro with 190 horsepower compared to them of today with 500 plus horsepower. Right, big difference, right? And so what are you comparing it to? So you're listening to Financial Strategies, the Andrew and Daniel Agemy, where it's time for us to take a break. Today's topic is the missing piece of the retirement equation. And we love to be able to help you put that missing piece together and understand how to take care of that. And this book, Common Sense Income Strategies, will help you be able to understand once you know what that number is, how to be able to attain that number for the rest of your life. We'd love to put this in your hand. If you're a first-time caller, make it the next 5 at 800-725-7616 for your free copy. 800-725-7616. Call now.
History tells us the market goes up and the market goes down. What would you do if you lost half of your retirement savings? It's time to make the shift to steady, reliable retirement income. And where do you go? The Retirement Income Store. Log on to agemy.com for your free retirement review. That's AGEMY.com. The Retirement Income Store, where retirees go for income.
Welcome back to Financial Strategies with Andrew Agemy in Connecticut and Daniel Agemy in Colorado.
Recently, we called Jeffrey, and we caught him in the middle of writing checks. It was the end of 2022, before Christmas, and he was writing gift checks to his children, to his grandchildren. He was writing gift checks to the church and other charitable organizations and things like that. And he's spending a good part of the day writing checks. And Jeffrey was able to write checks because he has all the income that he needs to live the rest of his life. Jeffrey's about 77, I think he is. And he has all the income that he needs to live the rest of his life and to enjoy that. And then more than enough to where he can start giving it away. A beautiful thing. I'm Andrew Agemy.
And I'm Daniel Agemy. You're listening to Financial Strategies. Dad, how did Jeffrey have all that income?
Well, he had invested over the years his money into dividend paying investments where he had those all the money coming in, and he created more investments, and he took those dividends. He didn't need all the dividends that were coming in, and he took those and he bought other investments, and so forth and so on. And to then he sold those original investments, and he's just amassed this income between the things that he has coming in, between dividends and interest, between Social Security, between pensions. He's got more than enough coming in, and that's not even including really his RMD from that standpoint. But the required minimum distribution just throws him over the top. It's a beautiful thing that he's able to do, and he goes on several cruises a year, spends a month in Florida, does all these things. One of the things he told me that he does, Daniel, that I love so much is when his grandchildren graduate from high school, he takes them on a trip anywhere in the world. And because of COVID, he wasn't able to take one of his granddaughters on this trip, so he ended up waiting to the next year, and then he took that one granddaughter and her sister who had graduated that year. They had a great time in Italy and enjoying that. And he didn't even feel it from his income level.
Yeah, so we talk about this equation, TR equals I plus G. And what that means is your total return is made up of two things. It's made up of income and it's made up of growth. And typically what people are doing is they are investing for TR equals G. Total return is made up of growth. And that is difficult when you are living off of your assets.
Right.
It's a stressful way to live.
Right.
Because the G can turn into an L, a loss, real quick. I was talking to a guy the other day who was changing from the growth model to a income or a total return model, growth and income, or income and growth, right? And we're doing income planning. And I said, we're going to make a lot more money next year than you did this year. And he laughed. And I said, no, we know that. He said, how? Well, because the particular investments that you're buying, they're contractually guaranteed to give you this amount of income. So you're going to earn this much income. So you can depend on that. Whereas the way you're used to investing, you could make more money, but you don't know how much money you're going to make or if you're going to make any money because that's the growth model. And in 2022, there was no growth, right? So you out of the TR equals I plus G, you only had the I. And that's what you're talking about when you're talking about that number, right? If you can get that entire number out of the I in the equation, then that means all the G is icing on the cake, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
That means your $1 million could still get bigger than $1 million, but you don't need it to get. If you're just collecting the I off of your million, there can still be growth, which means your $1 million can grow, but you don't need it to grow because you're just collecting the I, the income.
Right.
And that's the number you need big enough to support your lifestyle, your retirement, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So you don't have to choose one or the other. You can still get growth with the income model, but it's hard to plan towards the income if you're going on the growth model because growth doesn't pay very much income. It's mostly speculation with maybe a little bit of investment.
Right. Yeah. I love that, Daniel. The TR model, because the total return equals I plus the G, as opposed just the G model, which a lot of people are doing, which is just the growth model. And they don't realize it that they're looking at it and they're missing a significant piece. of two pieces. They're missing two significant pieces, Daniel, right? Because number one, their return is minuscule for the risk, 6%, 7% on average. Whereas, some of the things that, we have talked about, which is getting, having some investments make 30%, 40%, 50%, 75% in a different year, different individual investments. Now, what the average comes out to is lower than that, obviously, right? But those investments are investments that have risk to them, but certainly a reward to them, which is that's why you're investing. If you're risking things, you need to have a reward. And a lot of times when people hit retirement age, they want to have a lower risk, but they still keep investing as if they were 20, 30, or 40 years old. So, they should act their age, and invest their age, right?
And it's not their fault, right?
Right.
Usually
Because,
it's not their fault. We've seen plenty of people ask their professionals to put them into a more moderate,
right.
and maybe they do, and maybe they don't do anything. Maybe they move them into bond funds, which we know, you know, there's plenty of bond funds that are down 30% in 2022.
Right.
That
Right.
doesn't sound moderate to me.
No, it's crazy. It's just crazy. But you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. The missing piece of the retirement equation is what we're talking about today. What is your number? How much do you need? How much do you want to live on in retirement? That's where retirement strategizing, retirement preparation begins. Is what is the number that you need? And then secondarily, what is the number that you want to live on in retirement on a monthly basis, annual basis? That's what we're doing. We've got this paper that we'd love to give you today to be able to help you with things, to be able to help you understand the risk that you're taking. It's called Why Investing in Mutual Funds Could Jeopardize Your Plans for Retirement. So please be aware, if you're invested in mutual funds and for your 401ks, in other places, they can jeopardize your retirement in a lot of ways. And not to mention the least of which, this year with the 2022, with the markets being down, in 2023, you're going to be getting tax statements potentially for taxes that you owe on accounts where you lost money.
No, I saw that. I saw that on a guy's account the other day. That exact thing. He
Right.
had a mutual fund, and it is down right for the end of the year. He didn't sell it, so he doesn't get the tax break. But it had a huge distribution
Yeah.
that was all taxable.
Right.
So his accounts are down. It wasn't a big enough distribution to put his accounts back to even. He's still down, but you paying taxes while the account was down.
It's a terrible thing. So mutual funds could jeopardize your retirement. Please be advised. Please read this. Call us at 800-725-7616 for your free copy so that you can get educated and understand things to be able to make smart decisions with your retirement monies. 800-725-7616, the mutual fund paper. Ask for it by name. You're listening to Financial Strategies because people don't know what people don't know. Missing piece of the retirement equation. Daniel, we just have a few minutes left in our show for this week. How would you say, how do you want to wrap it up?
Well, it's a new year, and there's new opportunities, there's new learnings, there's new strategies, right?
Right.
I would suggest that people write down those two numbers that you said. First, the number that you need, right? How much money do you need to live off of? And figure it out the way Andrew talked about. Don't add up your utilities, whatever. Look at how much you and your spouse or you earn. Subtract out the things that you're not going to have to do in retirement, right? The FICO tax, and
401ks. Yeah.
401ks, these kinds of things, and get that number. And then add in the new things. You want to spend $20,000 a year on a vacation with first class. You want to buy an RV. You want to, whatever that is, you want to spend $50,000 a year on a vacation, right? You pick that out. I know somebody that likes to buy his kids and his grandkids vacations, and he spends a lot of money on those. Maybe you want to do that, right?
Right. There you go.
So add those back in, and then make that your ideal retirement, right?
Right.
Go crazy. Pick it out, write those numbers down. Then you have somewhere to start with. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Once you have those numbers, you get to think about purpose versus performance. And the purpose being supporting those two retirements.
Right.
The performance being once you can support that, you could invest whatever you want because it's not going to jeopardize your retirement. That's the whole thing. That's risk reward. That's what investing is about. When you're in retirement, you hear people say all the time, we can be aggressive, we can afford to lose. Well, you don't want to lose your retirement.
Right.
And we've seen that happen to people, especially 2008, 2009, where they were all performance based and not purpose based.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. That's what I would say exactly, Daniel. Figure out what you want, what you need, and what you want. Dream. Dream is what I say. Dream of what you want to do. Do you want to take your kids and grandkids on vacation? Do you want to get a second home to bribe your kids and grandkids to come visit you? Do you want to get an RV to drive out there to see your kids and grandkids, whatever the case may be? Or maybe you don't have kids at all. So what do you want to do? Do you want to give to organizations to do something, put your name on a building or whatever the case may be? What do you want to do? What is your number? That's what I want to leave you with today. And we'd like to give you this book as well to be able to help you, called Common Sense Income Strategies. We'd love to give this to you. Please call us 800-725-7616 if you want a free complimentary copy. No strings attached. Call us for 800-725-7616. The next 5 callers for the first time, 800-725-7616. Call now. And until next time, if you want to have a stress-free retirement, invest for the I and not the G.